Hello and welcome to another benefit of the Doud review. I am so not used to that shortened intro yet, and I'm still bobbing my head when I come up on the screen, and that's just not working out. Anyway, we're reviewing a phone, and actually Cliff is going to be reviewing this phone. So, Cliff, how you doing this evening?
Oh, I'm doing all right. Feeling extra jovial tonight, actually.
Are you? Are you? Well, that's
Yes,
good. That's good. Is it because you have an amazing flip style
it
foldable
is.
phone that you want to share with the audience?
That's the whole
Uh,
thing. I've been thinking about it all day, practicing the speech in my head, running lines as I pace,
mm-hmm.
talking about
Mm-hmm.
specs. So I better be
I'm
ready.
familiar. Nice, nice. Well, we are reviewing the Motorola Razr Plus 2024 edition. This is a phone that came out just a little bit over a month ago. I was in New York City for the launch party with that's so hot. Paris Hilton,
That's right.
and that was a rollicking good time. My review for that phone went up on Slash Gear, and so now it is time for Cliff's review. And I'll obviously be able to add some insight as well. But it's time for Cliff's review on the benefit of the Dode
That's
YouTube channel,
right.
which
So
is awesome.
I just saw that Paris Hilton has a new single out.
Oh yeah, that's hot.
That is hot.
That's
Actually,
hot.
it's probably not, but
It might
it's
be.
just it's just interesting when celebrities just that have kind of not been in the headlines just reappear, just reemerge in all their glory.
Right. Right. But
Yeah.
anyway,
So
so
speaking of
yeah.
emerging in all its glory, here a month ago, just like you said, we have the Motorola Razr Plus 2024.
We do. So now you actually did the review for the 2023
I
edition as
did.
well. So what do you? Let's just start with your kind of your overall impressions. This is the second gen. So how you feeling about this second time out of the gate?
So first of all, I really liked the 2023 edition, and so this was just you know more of the same but better, as you would hope it would be, right?
Right. Right.
But yeah, so I was lucky enough last year to get the T-Mobile exclusive pink color, magenta color, whatever you want to call it. But that was
What was that? The
hmm?
Pantone.
Yeah, it
It
was the Pantone
was
color of the
Viva
year.
Magenta. That's what it
That's
was.
right,
Viva
Viva
Magenta.
Magenta. And so
Yeah.
that's kind of funny. So I got the Pantone color of the year phone last year, and now in
Yes.
2024, you have the Pantone color of the year. I can't remember what the number of the Pantone color is. I'm sure it probably says on the box.
Oh, I don't know.
Should
Yeah,
be like
Peach Fuzz. That's
TP
all I'm gonna say.
TPX. But yeah, so the name of it is
Yeah.
Peach Fuzz. If you don't know Pantone,
Mhm.
Pantone is basically a color industry standard.
Right.
That's like a reference, so that if you want something to be an exact color, it's kind of like paint chips uh at the paint store where you hold it up and say this is
Yeah.
exactly what I want. And they even give them names. And so I really like these partnerships with Pantone. I've actually seen maybe a couple of other things that where people are partnering. It's like a whole Peach Fuzz campaign.
Nice. Nice. Yeah. And actually, side note, I don't know if you saw earlier today, I put this up on Threads. Obviously, this is the day we're recording. It'll have been, a few days when this goes live. But the Chicago Cubs signed an agreement, an advertising agreement with Motorola.
Really?
So a
Right.
nice local industry supporting the local your local industry, your local multi-million dollar corporation industry.
Right. That's
But
actually owned by a Chinese company, but that's okay. Not that
right,
that's a problem with that, but when you think about
right.
supporting your local companies, it's kind of funny. Anyway.
So Motorola is going to have a huge patch on the show
Oh.
on the sleeve of Cubs jerseys, and this is apparently a thing that's going on around the
Hmm.
league, where
Hmm.
like I think there's only like 7 teams now that don't have
Yeah.
their sleeves accounted for with advertising, but it's like it's not subtle. It's a
I mean,
very large round patch.
we're we're talking about sports here on a tech podcast, but yeah, actually, that's. I mean,
We'll talk about Motorola.
if you look about soccer, right, like in European basketball, I mean, they have sponsors all over their
Yeah,
jerseys, right? And
Yes.
the WNBA is kind of like the practice ground for the NBA. They did it there first, and now like actually Motorola sponsors the Bulls.
Oh
They have
yeah,
a Motorola
that makes sense.
logo with the little patch up there. So actually in the NBA, it's pretty subtle. It's not very it looks like soccer jerseys for the WNBA. But really, I guess
Right.
football is probably the last of the American professional sports, that at least the most visible ones that haven't
Yeah.
sold out yet. But anyway, yeah, so Motorola's
And speaking of Motorola, um, so yeah, so we've got and I think like the headline of
Mhm.
this review has to be that cover screen,
Oh, when I
which
brought it up, I was so
somehow
happy that it
got
was on.
bigger,
I
right?
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. I mean, honestly, when you see it, it looks like a movie prop to me.
Okay, I can see that.
Just because it's I mean, yeah, I guess if it was a movie prop, the bezels would be even thinner, but just having a screen where the cameras are cut out in it, and then it's also an AMOLED screen, so it just really pops like you're seeing here on this. But
Hmm.
yeah, so that I mean, this really is the major difference if you're looking at the visually the 2023 and the 2024 edition of these phones. The other thing that
Right.
isn't really so, I guess, apparent is that the hinge is smaller. You don't have
Hmm.
your 2023 sitting around, do you? It would
I do,
probably be
but
hard to see anyway.
I would have to stand up to get it. So unfortunately, I know exactly where it is. It's right up there. But
It's in a bucket of phones. So
yeah.
I think I'm going to try to show you our viewers the back of this phone first on my higher res camera here, rather than
Okay.
try to show it first on Slappy. But you can see on the back, it's actually got contrasting finishes. It's like a race stripe down the back. This is
Hmm.
the midnight blue, I believe, is the color.
Yeah, midnight blue, and then yeah, the racing stripe. The outer edges are vegan leather, and the inside or the inside stripe is vegan suede. Which, by the way, side note, I don't know if you knew this, but Motorola is the one who taught me that suede was actually a type of leather. I did not realize
You
that.
did not know
I thought it
that?
was like a no, I thought it was like a cloth or something. Like I legitimately did not know that it was a type of leather.
Interesting.
So,
Yeah, it's
well,
just
because
it's
they said vegan suede. I'm like, well, it's vegan cloth. Like, why would you need that to be vegan? And then I like Googled it. I like Googled is suede leather, and sure enough, it is. So,
no,
I learned something this year.
for some reason when you said that originally that Motorola taught you that, I thought you meant like years ago. I didn't
Oh no,
realize it
no,
wasn't. I didn't realize it was
it,
a today I learned moment.
it was a today I learned moment. Yep, I was today years
Gotcha.
old when I learned that suede is a type of leather.
So
But
let's
yeah,
just briefly go over the specs of the phone. I believe it's a
yeah,
6.8 inch,
6.9,
6.9.
close enough.
Okay,
6.9
with a pretty
inch
narrow
screen.
aspect ratio. It's 1080p. It is a
Mm-hmm.
plastic OLED, as you would imagine. Screen gets really bright, so it's
Mm-hmm.
easy to use outdoors. Let's see, we got 8 gigabytes.
Refresh rate up
No,
to 165 hertz, which is pretty cool.
that's almost
And
that.
that's the outside screen too. That's both screens
It's
go up to
both screens, which
165.
is nice because I think they did differ last year. I think the front cover was 90 and the inside was
I
120,
I believe you are correct on that.
or even one. It might have been that like 144 that they were pushing before. And it's interesting that
So
it makes me wonder with the Motorola phones that have that higher than average refresh rate. Are they just pushing their screens because I mean, there's not that many suppliers of these plastic OLED bendable displays.
I I don't know. I don't have the
I
answer to
know
that.
it's like I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure they're not getting like a custom version of a processor a la Samsung, but I mean, I'm sure they could. But anyway, it's
Right.
something that I've always like, where are these? How does Motorola like have superpowers to make it do something that maybe manufacturers are just more conservative? I don't know.
Right.
Okay, so 12 gigabytes of RAM, and it does give you the
Hmm.
option to do to extend your memory, or I think
Yeah.
mine actually came by default extended with 4 gigabytes of additional
Of additional, yeah, the
RAM,
VRAM.
yeah, well,
VRAM? No, not
addition
VRAM. That's
no,
not
not
right.
that's video RAM.
Virtual RAM. Virtual RAM.
Virtual RAM, correct, but just
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
just taking up space on your internal storage. But anyway,
Hmm.
let's see. So 256 gigabytes of storage, if I hadn't mentioned that already. And then the
Yep.
outside, do you have the specs on the outside display as far as the size?
It's
I
a
think it's
4-inch outside exterior display.
that's right. And it was three
So
and a half
which
last
is
year, right?
It was up from 3.6, yeah.
3.6. Okay.
And then the let's see what other oh 417 PPI Gorilla Glass Victus on the outside.
On the outside.
Um,
Okay.
I do not have a brightness on the exterior screen, so
Okay.
that they don't have that published. So
And obviously the
um,
inside has got that bendable glass stuff.
yeah, the ultra thin glass, I believe, is what they
Right.
call it, and
Ultra thin
that has a
glass. Correct.
the 2400 nits of brightness on the inside.
Holy cow.
So yeah,
I
yeah,
don't want to be
screens are
around
getting bright, folks.
I I don't think I want to be around that if it somehow defaults to that and I open my phone while I'm in bed in the dark. It's like
Wow.
literally exactly. All right, so
Feel
let's
like
go
that
to
flashlight all over again.
oh, I guess we should mention the camera specs as well. I believe it's 250 megapixel cameras on the back and a 32
Yep,
megapixel uh a camera on the front. Now this is
that is
actually
correct.
we should we should just mention that that's actually I think one of the we're going to do a different review on the non-plus Razr, just the Motorola Razr 2024. But
Right,
I wanted to talk about the fact that besides the screens, that basically the regular Razr has last year's plus front cover
screen size.
screen
Yep,
size, right?
cover screen.
Uh,
Yep.
but there, but here's the weird choice with the regular Razr, it has an ultra wide, which I know Adam definitely prefers on the back as a
No,
secondary
no,
camera. Hmm?
no, he does not.
Oh,
No,
you
he Adam prefers the telephoto.
Oh, that's yeah.
So
Okay, fine.
you were
I
right. You were right on one of them. But anyway, uh, but yeah,
okay. And the and I know they're also I think the main camera on the Razr is a 12 megapixel and then like an 8.
uh,
Thinking back to last cuz I
the
think it's basically last year's camera set.
No, it's 50. It's 50 and 12. It's the same. It's the
Oh,
same
it's the
main
main sensor.
sensor
Okay.
on both razors, but the key difference is the Razor Minus does not have OIS. I could be wrong about that.
Mm,
What it definitely does not have is the AI photo enhancement features that are on the Razor Plus,
mm.
and that makes a pretty big difference, as we can talk about at at some point.
We'll do a
But
camera
anyway.
comparison. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, when we do the Razor Minus review, we'll do a camera comparison between the two just to kind of show it off. But
Yeah, I think it's kind of
yeah,
interesting.
so now
But
this
yeah,
is the
that's the difference
first.
is that the go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say this is the first phone I reviewed in a very long time that did not ship with an ultra wide camera, and I mentioned this in my review of Slash Gear. I only ever use the ultra wide camera during actual photo testing. I
Mhm.
never I'm never on vacation and thinking to myself, "Oh, this would be a great ultra wide shot." Never. Never. It's either like panoramic or, just normal cuz I mean, the main cameras are pretty wide these days. They're almost 90 degrees field of
Yeah, they
view
are.
for the
Mhm.
most part. So I mean, like an ultra wide doesn't really give me all that much space. So I basically never use an ultra wide camera except when I'm literally forced to by my job.
And in
Um,
my I think people do enjoy an ultra wide camera, but what they want is they want a relatively ultra wide camera on the front facing camera.
well, that too. But I mean, so the one major decision that Motorola made here was that yes, they paired up the main camera with a telephoto camera, which
Mhm.
ordinarily I would be in favor of, but it's a 2x telephoto camera, which
Yeah.
I am very much not in favor of because when you have a 50 megapixel sensor, you can crop in and get a 2x lossless zoom on the
Mhm.
sensor and you'll still be right as rain. So I really think that Motorola made a mistake by not going 3x or even 5x. 5x I understand would probably be a pretty big ask. But even
But at least
just like a
4x
3x
without any
with
loss.
telephoto
Yeah.
or something like that. Yeah. So anyway, but yeah, so that's what that's just the big weirdness. And like I said, it's been a long time since I've reviewed a phone that didn't have an ultra wide camera. You might that statement might sound familiar
That
because I
did
actually made that same
that
statement
did have an ultra
about a
wide, you
month
mean?
ago with the Infinix phone that we reviewed.
I was thinking,
Also
did we
did not
just
have
have
an ultra wide camera.
I was just thinking we've had this conversation before.
we have, and like the last phone that I can remember that didn't ship with an ultra wide camera was a Pixel 4, I think it was. Um, where Google like straight up said, "Yeah, you don't need an ultra wide camera. We'll,
That's
that's
right.
fine."
I
Um,
remember that.
and so
Yep.
like, but since then, and then this year for some reason I reviewed two of them. I don't know how that happened, but here we are.
Oh,
Um, yeah.
so yeah,
And by the way, the
interesting.
Infinix did have a 3x telephoto as the other camera, so it's worth pointing
Wait,
out.
I will say one other thing though, that is that I'm glad that it doesn't ship with a sticker cam.
Oh yeah, absolutely,
You know,
absolutely.
whether
At least both
whether
of
it's
the
with either of them, because they're just ornamentation, just like a sticker. That's
right,
all they are.
right. These cameras are actually both reasonably useful, so that's a
Yeah,
good thing.
absolutely. And we'll show
Um,
some images and video here in a bit. But first, you want to bring up Slappy?
yeah, let's go ahead and talk to Slappy, and we'll switch over to that view, and then we're gonna do that, and then we're gonna do that, and then yeah, I think we're good. So, hello, Slappy. How are you doing today? And Cliff is switching over his audio source. Oh, and we need to mute. Don't say anything yet. Okay, now you can talk because we
Ah,
forgot to mute Slappy.
you hear my air conditioner going in the background there.
Yeah, a little bit, but not
Yeah, it's
enough.
pretty noisy,
We're fine.
but it's still like 84 degrees outside and very humid. So sorry, guys. I don't know
Yep.
why I keep talking to this. I just switched microphones and this is not even hot.
It doesn't matter.
I see. But yeah, I'm actually kind of blocked. I'm also wearing my lav mic, which is why you can hear me even if I go over here. All right.
Yep. So, anyway,
So now we got
the
Slappy up.
magic of movies.
It is one of the most frustrating things in the world to try to review a phone, and no matter especially on video, because no matter what, you'll somehow
You will
get
have
fingerprints on it. And I'm
bet
just a
your
little
butt.
bit OCD about it. So right now I've got it open. Let's take a look at the back here. Let's see if, oh, you know what? It's not going to come on unless we. There we go. So
Put in
give
the
you a
pin.
little hardware tour. But yeah, so
Mhm.
there's your front screen, which is basically almost the entire. I'd like to. I wish I knew what the percentage of this total was display, because that's the screen to body ratio in this view is pretty crazy,
Yeah,
especially
they
for
only give that
especially
for the main screen, but yeah.
this. Oh, okay, yeah, but especially because if you look at, I mean, we're only talking like the old phone, the screen was the display is about there. So I mean, it is when you actually see them in person, it's a huge difference. But
Right.
hopefully we can see. There's your SIM tray, power button, which also doubles as your fingerprint reader, and then
Mhm.
your volume controls.
Yeah.
All right, and you don't have a selfie camera. Actually, you do inside, but
Right.
on the outside, because it's also your main cameras. All right, let me.
Mhm.
Okay, and here is the display. Are we frozen? There we go. Okay.
No, we're good. Oh, you might have been, but yeah.
All right.
You're fine. Keep pushing through.
We're
You're fine.
good. So it's almost like a normal phone when it opens in term, but it's just a little bit. It's a very Samsung front cover of a foldable phone, kind
Right.
of narrow, or like a Sony Xperia with this
Yeah.
narrow aspect ratio, but it's thin when it's open. Oh, I think I showed you guys the top. So there's just some antennas, and then a USB-C port and your speaker. So I need to remember what Motorola's actually got a new name for well, their take on Android. But I think in order to see it, maybe I can see it inside. It doesn't matter. But anyways, this Motorola has forever been known for having one of the cleaner builds of Android, and I would say that they've added a little bit more flavor to it this year compared to last year,
Mhm.
because this feels more customized, and just in terms of the font choices and sizes and things like that compared to previous years. So, and I think that comes with the rebranding of their skin of Android. Where's settings up? All right.
So yeah, there's a settings app, and then there's also the Moto app, which I think we should definitely take a moment to show people as well.
Sure.
But
I wonder if I've actually got that installed anymore.
oh, you didn't delete it, did you?
I think I might have.
Oh my goodness, what? What? All right. Well, I mean, if I can kind of.
You can show it on your screen, I guess, if we have to. All right.
Yeah.
But not a heavily customized version of Android. You still have your Google feed over here to the left. You can see it's almost pixel time. It's pixel season, August 13th.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, I can't believe it. Let's see.
It's August already, isn't that? Wasn't that
it's ridiculous. All right, so you still have within the hardware the good old Motorola standbys that have been around since the Moto X, which gives you your chop and the little twisty handle thing. I don't know what Motorola actually calls that. It's so handy though, and I'm glad that they have kept that. And they've kept it. Does anyone know what happened to my background?
Your back? Oh,
it's changed. That's another feature. That's a feature Motorola didn't tell us about. It just when you shake your phone, the background goes away or changes to a different background.
Yeah, that must be. That's a new one.
Yeah, that's a new one. Anyway, all right. So,
Log report.
what am I doing here? So, one of the killer features to me of this phone, though, is the fact that you have this giant display. This is, right. And I want to say this the right way, but this to me is like the ultimate toilet phone. If you're doing your business and you want to just quickly get into,
gotcha.
Yes, that's why I said I wanted this to sound the right way, but it didn't work. So I guess I can show you.
Maybe keep workshop.
I'll workshop it a little bit. Yeah. It's better than the ultimate pooping phone.
Right. Well, yeah. Let's keep working on that one.
I'm not a big. Well, like you said, we'll keep workshopping it. But they have added some things this year, like the ability to add widgets.
Mm-hmm. Which is awesome.
It is awesome, and actually, I believe all these features just got dropped to the 2023 Razr Plus. They just updated it to Android 14. But we'll talk about that later. So
yeah, we will. That's definitely something that needs to be discussed.
But the great thing about this cover screen, just like last year, is like you can run just about any app on the cover screen if you want, to varying degrees of success. Right. I mean, they have their calendar and things like that. But if you want to, you can choose what shortcuts you want for apps to run on the main screen, which is pretty nice. I guess I can put calendar on here. Anyway, it's already on there. So shortcuts to apps, your dial pad again, so you can use the phone without opening it. Calendar.
You can put contacts in there as well.
Right.
Now, I don't do that because I am way too afraid of pocket dialing people. If I have them
with shortcuts,
like yeah,
I can see that for sure. That would take a lot of tossing around in your pocket though for that to happen. I think
not really. I mean, if it accidentally swiped over if you were on the contact screen when you stuffed it in your pocket and you forgot to turn off the screen, it could just randomly tap something and start calling people.
It's true.
But
anyway. But one of the major reasons
to Motorola, by the way.
Okay. So one of the reasons to buy this phone is stack bounce. And Motorola gives you access to. I should have shown you that first, but Motorola gives you access to a bunch of just real simple, like I said, when you're on the toilet kind of games, and that's why I said this is the ultimate toilet phone, because I'll just play This is what people call TMI, by the way, but
right.
Yeah, we're educating you guys.
Exactly.
But this is such a fun game. I know you guys when this originally was on the 2023 edition, you guys were in love with that game.
We had a little competition going. This year it was free kick style, whatever it's called.
That's right.
There's a
I forgot
kicking
that
game.
there's at least twice the amount of games that were last year included.
Yeah, there were a lot.
So
Free kick football is what it was called.
okay,
So
gotcha.
that's
So
that's
this
that
is
was the game du jour this year.
so really this cover screen almost reminds me of like a giant smartwatch in terms of
Yeah.
your ability to act on notifications. You can still get into all of your settings like Wi-Fi, all that good stuff.
Hmm.
Make calls, add widgets. It really is just like a
And one thing that I really like about the implementation
smartwatch.
this year
Mhm.
is unlike last year where you had to like go into the settings and go into the external display to add or remove panels. This year you can just pinch and you get a list of all your panels there. So just pinch two fingers together real quick.
I did not know that. Oh, I did.
Yeah,
Ah,
so and then
oh my
there's
God.
actually and then you can tap on any of these to jump straight to it, or you can hit
Or you
the
can
edit
edit it.
button and
Gotcha.
you can hit the plus button, and then you can add the other panels that they have available too.
Ooh, how did I not know about this? That's
So
kind of cool.
it was,
You know
it
what?
was in the
Really,
reviewer's guide. So I don't know if you
it
got one of those, but
I did not. Here's something that's really strange about this, though.
and also you were never briefed on this phone,
No,
so
I was
like
not.
yeah.
And
So I
some things
mean
just
you would
don't discover quite as well.
right exactly. So like I said,
So
last year you had to go through like a whole process to get to that screen, but
yeah.
this year they've got a Spotify panel and they've got a Bose panel. So if you have a set of Bose headphones, you can bring up the settings on the external display. So which
Oh,
is
and
kind of
there's
fun.
and well, so this is actually what I was going to talk about. It really annoys me when, I guess I'm sure this is a partnership and that Spotify paid to be on the phone. Obviously
Probably
Spotify is really popular, but why can't I have something like this uh for YouTube
YouTube
Music, which is what
Music.
I use?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, I totally get that. Yeah.
or just have it be a universal um, music player
Music
that
player.
also could tells whatever, that can also access whatever, has access to your audio so that it can control it even if you're
Right.
not changing the anyway, something like that.
Yeah.
But that's a small thing. It really
Yep.
is not that big a deal. And I believe if you want to, I don't have any notifications right now, but I would be able to control it from the screen because I had already been playing in YouTube Music, and then I would get the little
Right.
squircle with it. So anyway,
Yeah,
anywho,
you could do that. So
but
yeah, so the external screen definitely had it got some bonuses. In addition to the extra screen real estate, they made the user interface a lot cleaner,
it is
which I
much
liked.
cleaner. Yeah, I wish I could remember the
Although although
your tip.
perhaps not as discoverable as we learned. Um,
Yeah, that's well.
but
Anytime you add anytime you add something that's a pinch,
right,
that's not something people do at least on purpose nearly as much, in my opinion. But yeah, and
right,
I wish
exactly.
I could talk more about the software, but honestly, it's just a very clean build of
Yeah,
Android. And then if I had the Motorola app, there are a lot more customizations that you can add to it. But
yeah. Which I mean, I can kind of show a little bit here.
yeah, but
I'm gonna
the
move
reason I
the
delete it though, I'll just say this, but personally, is that it's always poking you to say, hey, hey, why don't you check this out? Hey, have you tried this yet? Hey,
right, exactly. All right, so yeah, this is the Motorola app. You've got your personalized option and your gestures. Moto Secure is like their security thing. And I'm kind of reading this backwards, so bear with me. But like display, and basically like you can change, how your display looks. You can change your lock screen and stuff like that. Let's go back to like gestures. So there's a whole bunch of gestures, including the chop chop that we talked about with the
Right.
flashlight. But you can flip your phone over for DND, for do not disturb, I should say, and you can approach to silence, which is basically what that is if you have your phone in like a tent mode and you get a phone call, you can
Ah,
just do
yes.
this and it'll turn it off. So that's kind of nice. Let's see
Maybe you
what
can
else
show
here.
before we go into the camera stuff too, the video mode, or the
Video
camcorder,
mode.
camcorder mode.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. So, yeah, this is kind of a cool thing. So, if you have your camera already launched and you go do the phone 90 degrees, you'll see it actually like counts down and then starts recording automatically. So if you're, I'll stop this again real quick. So your whole, you have your camera launched, you did your wrist twist, and then you just kind of flip it and then do like go into camcorder mode,
Mm-hmm.
and it'll just start recording automatically. And kids, this is called camcorder mode because a long time ago, when you wanted to shoot video of something, you had to have what was called a camcorder, and it was basically like kind of like it was like a box with like a second thing
Yes.
here that like you could turn, and then like you held it like this, and then this was your camera
And then if you had
thing.
a
And
really fancy one, it had a flip out color screen and it would show you things
yep,
like VHS flashing.
yep, yep. So anyway, so sorry, I got a little old on everybody there for a second, but no,
It's
so it's
okay.
camcorder mode, which is really cool, and
It is
Samsung
really
does it
cool.
too.
Hmm.
Samsung has camcorder mode for the flip. It just doesn't do the automatically start recording thing, which is, I think it's kind of a bonus
I, you know,
Motorola.
some of these things again, I'm kind of like when I talked about with the last phone review we did, which was the CMF by nothing CMF phone
Mm-hmm.
one. But yeah, the back on that, yes, it's a gimmick, but it's also useful. And I mean,
Right.
I think you can say the same thing about the camcorder mode. Um, some of the things on the front, like the games, but again, yes, yes, it's a bit gimmicky, but it actually works really well in person. And one
Oh
thing I was
yeah.
going to say, if I remember the 2023 version of this phone, the hinge was not nearly as posturable. It would just when you got to a certain point, it would just kind of flop down.
It still does that to an extent, but you definitely have more. I think it's a little bit, you have a little bit more flexibility. Like the Samsung, you can put anywhere you want and it'll just stick there.
Yeah, that's
Whereas
true.
with the Motorola, it has it.
I'll show
I
you
kind
the
of call it the rubber band effect. Like you can open it just to like a
yeah.
certain area and it'll stay, but if you start to close it, it just eventually it just kind of gives out and just boop,
Mine get oh, there you
you
go.
know.
Yeah.
And like the same thing the other way. It just gets to a certain point and it just kind of
And then it just kind
snaps,
of flops, but
you
it
know.
definitely has more or maybe
And
part of
to
this too could
contrast that, this would be the Samsung Galaxy Flip.
right.
You can put this thing anywhere you want it, and it will stay exactly there. So, like, yeah, I think that's about as far as you
Yeah.
can go. No, I mean, like, that's 165 degrees, and it's still holding that
It's yeah,
posture. So,
it's on a whole
yeah.
nother level, and the fold is the same way.
It really is. It
Yeah.
really is. And that's nice. I mean, like, I don't fault Motorola for that because I mean, this is a Gen 2 product as opposed to a Gen 6 product.
6 product, yeah.
So I think
Actually,
Motorola will
no.
eventually get there.
Motorola was the
Oh,
first one to introduce a foldable
well, right. Right. But
or a flippable
this
in this case.
particular
Yeah. This
build
iteration of
of
the
this
hinge.
form factor,
Yeah. Yeah.
this iteration of the hinge is a Gen 2.
Right.
Um,
I just wanted
but
to
yeah.
make sure we I wanted to clarify
No,
that
yeah,
for
yeah.
all the people for all you
In the
commenters out there.
comments.
Exactly. So before we look at photos and talk about the cameras again,
Hmm.
I think we can talk about battery life because you could say this about just about any flip phone is that the you're compromising a bit to get this form factor on battery life. And it's not to say that
Sure.
the battery life on
Sure.
this phone is bad. It's actually with this particular chip inside the Snapdragon 8
S.
8S3, yes.
Gen 3. Yeah.
Gen 3, yes.
Yeah.
Is efficient. I mean,
Yes.
the phone doesn't get hot unless I'm for some reason charging it, and it gets very. Have you noticed how hot it gets when it sits on a rapid charger? Woo, woo, woo.
I actually always wirelessly charged it, so
Oh, gotcha.
no.
Well, then it's
But
gonna get warm
it gets warm.
regardless
It gets
anyway.
warm then too. Um,
Well, I
but
added it. I use even though I have wireless Android Auto in my car, I sometimes plug it in just to keep it charged, and
oh
it must
yeah,
rapid
yeah,
charge from my power source because it. I mean, I'll pick it up when I'm getting it out of the car and it's been plugged in, and it is super warm.
yeah.
So
I mean, it maxes out at 45 watts, so it's not super, super, super.
right,
It's not OnePlus fast, but it's still fast. But
uh,
anyway,
but and the nice thing is it seems to not require You know, like as an example, OnePlus phones will only do that super turbo rapid charging
VOOC, super VOOC is what they call it.
right with their charger and their cable, which is kind of interesting. And
Right.
Motorola is not that discriminating. Of course, it's also
That
like
is true.
a third of the speed.
Right.
So
So,
I
so
get
yeah,
a solid day out of this with not much left.
yeah.
I'm usually on like 10 to 15% by the time I put it on the charger at night.
So I would say about the same. I would probably actually. I think maybe I'm a little bit more conservative with my phone, but yeah, I'm probably closer to like 25 to 30% left.
Hmm.
But that being said, for some reason this year, as opposed to last year, like last year, I was probably doing about 70% of everything on the cover screen.
Mhm.
This year, I would say it's probably closer to like 30 to 40%. Like it was a much more even split, I think.
Right.
And I don't know why. Like you would think with a bigger exterior screen that would make, for even more excuses to use it with the phone closed. But for whatever reason, this year, I found myself opening the phone a lot more often.
I think we realized that because I think I think when you use the phone for a while, you start to realize that while the cover screen is nice, forcing
Mhm.
yourself into that box
Is
is
not
just a little
necessarily that
constraining
nice.
sometimes, right?
Yeah.
And so
At first, it's
I think what we all
constricted,
realize is that you could do it, but maybe
pretty
it's a
soon it
better
becomes a
experience on
part
the
of
inside.
you. Sorry. Um, yeah, and that's very possible. Well, yeah, so it's a solid 1 day phone though. Like you're
Right,
probably not going to leave it overnight and use it the next day, if you forget to plug it in.
right.
But it's a solid 1 day phone, which I mean is really like for a flip style foldable. That's kind of average, I would say.
Yeah, I
Like
think
I
so
would
too.
most flagships these days, you can leave them off the charger for a solid day and a half.
Yep,
Like
absolutely. I was gonna say most phones are
um
a day and a half phone these days.
maybe even 2 days. Like I think the Fold 6 is almost a 2 day phone. But
It's
yeah,
got like
with the flip styles, with the
40%
flip
more
style
battery.
phones, yeah. But anyway,
But again,
so
it just goes back to the
yeah,
compromise that that you're making by having a
right.
phone that, the battery. I I've actually never seen this deconstructed based on the way it feels in terms of the weight and balance. While this is not an unbalanced phone, I've got to think that most of the battery is in the back compartment.
Yeah, I'm fairly sure it's a split battery. I don't know what
Yeah,
the actual split is, but yeah, you're right. But
as
yeah,
I
we
said,
should we're
most.
actually running a little bit long here, so we should
Sure.
dive into
So let's
cameras
dive into
real quick.
cameras. So
Yeah.
we'll just review once again those two 50 megapixel cameras on the back and a 32
Hmm.
megapixel on the front. Only
Hmm.
the wide has OIS, if I remember correctly.
Yes. And with that being said, here are the samples. I'm going to turn off Slappy here real quick. So,
Okay. Yeah,
yeah,
we're done with Slappy. He can go away. You know what I need to do though?
yeah,
Is just switch to my other mic because I'll be leaning forward here.
yeah.
All right.
Switchy, switchy. So,
All right, you
now
hear
I
me?
would say in general, and I'm just covering for you while you switch audio sources. In general, I found the cameras to be better than last year,
Mm-hmm.
not
Definitely.
by a whole heck of a lot. Like they were okay. I mean, they were certainly solid. Really, what it came down to for me was like a lot of nighttime stuff that it kind of started to show its colors. But I mean, like the
Yes. I
yeah, the good news is that this is the best set of cameras that I think Motorola has shipped on a
oh my
phone.
god.
The bad news is it was a very low bar going into it.
I
So,
mean, in general, that's sort of where you're starting from in your expectations with Motorola. Why am I
right.
talking into this?
I don't know.
Can you hear me all right then?
I can hear you just fine.
Okay, just
So
wanted to make sure.
let's flip through some
We are
photos
we
here.
are so this was taken with the wide angle, so your main shooter
Hmm.
in good uh, light,
Hmm.
and I'm going to have to speed through just to show you the difference. I took one at a lower light setting.
Okay.
You can see
Finally
the
clear.
difference there. It's actually not
Okay.
too bad.
It's not bad. It's not bad.
It's not bad. And honestly, I think when you get in here, the details are pretty good for a lower light shot. You
I kind
actually
of
have
like
some.
that you went back to the same subject too. So I don't usually
Well,
do that. So
I was. I'm learning.
you are.
I'm like I'm like Skynet.
But anyway,
Okay. All right. So what I wanted to do here was show the difference between. I realized I had two different videos in there. Okay. Well, I bet you that's the same one. Dang it. You actually could see some of the difference, even though the other one is just a video. But this is taken with the portrait mode, and the difference in the while this is actually kind of an interesting looking photo. I mean, it is the color has shifted really blue, especially in the flower. If you know what a sunflower looks like, and you'll see that in the and it's also blown out in the highlights.
yeah,
I mean, I think I did
quite a
it.
bit.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I think the actual visual separation and the bokeh does not look fake. I mean, you've got the details in the leaf there and things like that. And then, but in terms of the color, what I have noticed is that there is a definite difference between the same camera, but with portrait mode on versus not. So it's something that it does in the processing with portrait mode on. So you can see it's definitely warmer here.
It's worth repeating that the Razr Plus has an on by default AI enhancement tool
Oh,
that
that's right.
applies to photographs. So it's very possible that it's just doing different things with portrait photos than it is with just standard photos.
Yeah, and maybe it's just a preferred look for okay, like skin smoothing on some Chinese market phones.
Yes.
And beyond that. So this was taken with the main camera, and this is without portrait mode on, but you got to have some nice bokeh, some good deal.
Yep.
Oh, this is video, that's why. All right, I was trying to zoom in. This is again the main shooter, but I was just trying to play with focus and see if I had to get close enough to where I could actually get a physical point where it would focus on this. But getting close to the subject, it still was able to focus. It's very clean as far as that. Especially the wood grain. I mean, look at that. Ooh, you can kind of see some artificial depth of field where it's like smooth.
A little bit.
Not too bad. But
yeah.
So I really try to give us a variety. Okay, so there we go. Okay. So same basic position. This is with the main shooter without portrait mode on. The exact same basic position, but with portrait mode on. And you see the difference in color and processing?
Yeah.
It's quite, it's like subtle. More vibrant. And I mean, I don't dislike it, but it's not true to life compared to this.
Right. Exactly.
It's just kind of interesting. So here's the slow motion mode.
Okay.
Look at that! Look at the
with the lawnmower.
Yeah, I love the lawnmower coming through. It's so funny, and if you actually hear the audio, it's just like.
Yeah, it's honestly that kind of looks AI generated.
It does. It does.
Honest, just because like it's moving so slowly, but smoothly. I liked it. But
so that literally was nothing other than just to test out the ultra wide or the ultra slow mode, and I thought it was pretty cool.
Okay.
Or the slow motion mode. And then this is I believe that this is still because I've done the same shots during lower light just to see the difference here. So this is same place standing, and then your three different listed focal lengths. So the 1x,
so
2, and
that's
4.
1x.
2.
Let's see those 1x.
And this has some challenging lighting conditions because you've got leaves up here that are lit, some that are lit in here, but it's shaded through here. So.
So is that 4x that we're looking at? No,
this is 4x right here. And look at the difference in what it's really lighten this area up down here compared to what it looks like from here. And this is same camera, just zooming in, so you can see that it's like re-exposing, or maybe that's the AI.
Yeah, it could be.
Here is walking from the rear main camera on video. I think I do a little swing to the left here.
How does that
walking? It's a miracle. It's not too bad. I'm not seeing a lot of jelly. You can see just a little bit of the footfall. I think again that what you were talking about with this AI processing, it saturates things. I'll just put it that way. And because of that, you lose a lot of the like dynamics between. You basically just see like bright and dark, and not a lot of like midtones.
Yeah, there's not a lot in between there.
That's right. So
So
front-facing camera and a guy that needs to
okay,
shave.
yeah,
And so
can relate.
that's
That's relatable content.
so this is at some point. Okay, that was lower light. Yes, let's
Okay,
portrait mode at the front-facing camera, walking with the front-facing camera in that same
okay.
area.
You're whistling, aren't you?
Yes.
I notice I in a lot of my selfies I have pursed lips, and I think it's because I'm whistling. That's
You
all I
do
do.
whistle a
So
lot.
I whistle a lot.
So I
Yeah.
was whistling. I remember this because I have been playing with a service that does the AI generated music,
Oh,
and
okay.
it allows you to put like input lyrics and like specify the style. You can't specify an
Hmm.
artist. That's the one thing you can't do. But anyway,
Okay.
and whatever it produced, it's a catchy tune because I was whistling it the whole day.
That's
So
funny.
this is so I went into a lower. What I was trying to do is get not. I was trying to get less than perfect light without being in a really dark situation. So this is again
Right.
front facing camera, but in a
Softer
darker.
focus.
Yeah, you can see the difference just between that. Oh, it's a huge difference, and that.
Hmm.
Like, ugh.
Yeah, definitely.
And what I have found, and we'll talk. Actually, you know what? We'll talk about that. This is lower light, but that same area of walking, just to see the difference in camera performance.
Hmm.
Definitely some more juddering.
There's more juddery and there's a lot more gray in the
Oh
darker
yeah,
areas, like
oh
over
yeah,
on the street.
yeah,
You can
yeah.
definitely see it over on the street.
Absolutely.
Um, so yeah, it does get very grainy
And it
in
seems
darker
to
areas.
in lower light lean a little blue, and definitely less saturated. It's like
Okay.
once it's not bright sunshine outside, it's like, oh, we don't need to do that anymore. We don't need to
Yeah,
over
never
process it and
mind. We're
saturate it.
fine.
So again, same subject matter, but in like this is like 6:30, 7 o'clock, like bit
What did that
later.
bee just never go home?
There are so many bees on that sunflower patch. It is ridiculous. And
Well,
honestly,
that's good.
they didn't attack me. I was really happy.
Well,
So
that's
that's
good. Good. Save the bees.
here we go. Once again, main
Yeah.
camera with no bokeh or no portrait mode versus portrait
Hmm.
mode. Again, you see the difference in the processing.
The huge difference in color.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this you can tell this is definitely the portrait mode because it just adds like that blue and blows
Yeah.
everything out, relatively speaking. I've already shown you this, but
Hmm.
that was that same whatever that is, gnome, elf. I don't know.
It's a gnome.
That's for some reason supporting the red coats.
It's kind of funny.
But anyway, oh, you're so naughty, you elf. Look at you with your coy eyes.
Draw me like one of your French girls.
Yes. So low light selfie.
Yeah. Yep.
That's
We're in there somewhere.
it's not great.
I think there's a person. Oh
Lo-
wow, that's
Lowest
very
light
bad.
selfie. Mhm.
Yeah, that's very harsh.
Yes. Well, that's literally there's just a one light source. But I just wanted to see how it would handle a bright light source with that's actually not too bad for what it is.
Is it this light source?
It is not, but it could be.
Okay, could
The
be.
price is right. All right, so low light cameras that are or photos that are not me. And this is something that I found. It really struggles to focus.
Focus. Yep.
Yes, a
Yep.
lot of focus, honey.
I found that as well.
Yeah, and I shot. I think I took like 7 different shots of this something like this composition, and this was the best I could get. Where I felt like if I put a little bit more subject matter in it, it could kind of figure out what's going on. But then it looks like here that like I got some kind of lens flare.
What is that? Yeah, I was like, did you like change those into like metal panels or something?
I
Like,
I can
is that a
here's
reflection from behind you or
I
what
can't.
the heck?
So it's either lens flare or
Yeah.
a fingerprint, which I don't know how I would have done because I had been holding the camera the same way the whole time, or it is. And this is what I'm wondering. I don't even know if this is possible, but it does. You know how when you're in low light, most smartphones will ask you to hold still. I'm
Right.
almost wondering if I moved it at the last second, and this is
Oh,
like the
that could be
digital. This is like the digital equivalent of a double
like a
exposure.
shat, like an echo. Yeah, double
Like,
exposure or something.
yeah,
Yeah, that could be. That's a solid theory.
but this was
But
once I
wow,
actually
that's
get in
crazy.
here, it's still the focus is not great. It looks
Right
better
now.
from here, but yeah, I think you can. I think you can take good low light photos with this camera. And I don't have any
As long
problems
as
with
your
the
subject isn't moving, and as long as you're
correct,
not moving, and as long
right?
as your subject isn't
You
moving,
might
so
you might need a
you can do landscapes,
you
basically.
you might need a tripod. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, you can
So I
do still
believe
life.
we are back to this. Okay, so I actually had a duplicate of this, but I thought that was a pretty good variety of photos.
Yeah, yeah. Let's put our pictures back where they belong, and I will
Our
go.
guest Miriam in our last phone coverage called me out for not, and Adam supported this too, that I haven't done enough low light camera stuff. So
Right.
I'm like, I am giving you guys what you want. I hope.
Well, we appreciate it, but
Yeah,
yeah. So like overall, I think I think so. My overall impressions of the Razor Plus are this is and actually I'll probably repeat this for the Razor Minus as well, but this is kind of where the Razor should have been last
sure,
year
I can see
as
that.
like a first. This is a much more refined product than I
Hmm.
think what Motorola put out last year, and I mean that's a good thing. You know, they're definitely Motorola is definitely taking positive steps forward. Um, and like just with the screen as large as it is, taking up like the entire top half of the phone, like it should have been. I just really feel like this is what the 1.0 product should have been. It's a shame that it took us to 2.0, but it's a
Yeah,
much more refined experience
it is.
overall, like
I would say though that
from top to bottom.
the things that Motorola has done with their flip foldables for the last 2 years, I think really pushed other manufacturers to do more in terms of
I
what
think
they
so
do,
too.
what they
Yeah,
do with the cover screen. I mean, you say, which I don't disagree with that. This 2024 edition is probably what last year should have been. However, when that came out last year, it was, I mean, compared to what was out there in from other companies. I mean, the
oh
cover
yeah,
screen and the things that you could do with it, how open they were with the software,
yeah.
just it changed what other companies are doing. And so yeah, I mean, what my summation with this would be that the cameras are marginally better from last year. The hardware is, if you were to just glance at it, other than the cover screen, feels about the same as last year. I
About the
think,
same. Yeah,
yeah,
I like the materials though. I
I do
like that
too.
vegan leather and the vegan suede. That was
I do.
definitely a step in the right direction.
And I like the colors that they have available this year. Although last year's weren't bad. I
Hmm.
do think the battery life is just a little bit better, and I'm actually going to chalk that up to the processor that it's got this year
Probably, and a slightly bigger battery.
and a slightly bigger battery. Yeah,
But yeah,
but so I think that it's very evolutionary from last year's, but it also isn't like baby steps. I mean, I having that larger screen, tweaking the software. This is stuff that if you were using last year's with the Android 13 before the update that they just released, and then you use
hmm.
this, you would feel like these are meaningful updates.
Oh yeah,
And
definitely.
unlike Samsung, they kept it the same price.
They kept it the
It's
same price.
it's 9.99,
Which is yep.
and 9.99 is probably not what you're going to pay for it if you wait
If
for
you shop around a
a
little bit.
minor holiday.
Right,
if you're
right, exactly.
if you buy it unlocked, I think right now it's got $50 or $100 off of it. Plus, they have very generous trade-ins. So,
Right,
just something to
right.
think about.
So yeah, yeah, overall definitely and yeah, keeping the price was a huge
Yeah,
especially in light of the fact that Samsung raised their prices by $100
correct.
like 2 weeks later. Um
And I can see the
so
temptation to
yeah.
do that with where inflation is being blamed for so much of the cost that we're all incurring.
Yeah, I
Higher
suppose.
expenses. I'm not saying that's a good
Right.
thing. I'm just or that they should have done that. I'm just saying that they would have had a legitimate
Yeah,
enough excuse to do it. And no, they kept it the same, which is great with
right.
upgraded internals. So everything about it, honestly, is better, and the price stayed the same. There's not much else you can
Right.
say about it.
Yeah. By the way, right now this phone is on sale on Amazon for $8.99. So yeah, it's like you said, right out of the gate, you're
Mm-hmm.
not paying $9.99. So and that's for all the different colorways. So that's a great deal, and I'm very happy about that.
Like
So
I would
uh
just say, and I've said this before, in that I don't know why the S22, I'm sorry, the S series, the S series Plus exists. I mean, I
Yeah.
do, but I don't. It feels like I would rather slot the flip in there if you're talking about Samsung's lineup,
Samsung. Yeah.
right? Um,
We're kind of wandering off topic,
I-
but
no,
that
I'm
could
just
be
saying
maybe
to me, like I would rather have this Motorola than like an S22, an S24
plus.
Plus at the same
Yeah.
price. That
Sure.
they're
Sure.
right there. And I would say the
Right.
same thing about the flip. So just something to think about if you're looking for, basically a flagship phone. I mean, if you're buying $1,000 phone, it's a flagship phone. I don't think you can really.
Right. Exactly.
Anyway,
Exactly.
I think I would have the Motorola over the. I mean, really, the only thing Samsung has got over it, I think. I'm sure there are some features, but it's the much more generous software support in terms of updates and Android version updates and security updates. I think
Yeah.
Motorola's is what 2 and 4, so 2 years, 2 Android version updates and 4 years of security updates. So Samsung's their
I'm
support
not
is
sure
is
about that. I
I
want to say
believe
that
that's
is
right.
incorrect, but I don't have. You know what? All right, cover fill time
Okay,
for me because I'm
sounds
going to
good.
look that up.
So that, I mean, honestly, regardless of what Motorola phone you're talking about, even at the top of their pricing structure, I mean, I guess in Europe they've got the uh, they have sort of like a S24 Ultra competitor that might be a little bit more expensive, but I really still feel like their software support should be better than it is now, and a lot of other companies are starting to get on board with that. I know OnePlus has increased their software support, and I believe that's kind of across the board with BBK.
Okay. 4 years of operating system upgrades
Oh,
for the Plus. I don't know about security updates, but I want to say it's like
usually it's like a
it's
year or
either
two
4 or
more.
5. Yeah, it's
Okay,
usually like a year more. So, but that being said, we can't not mention that Motorola does not have an amazing
track
reputation
record.
for software
Mhm.
updates.
Well,
Uh,
as an example, the phone
evidenced
that
by the fact evidenced by the fact that the Razr Plus 2024 launched before the Razr Plus 2023 got Android
Android
14.
14. Yep,
So,
that's what I was going to
yeah,
say.
so
Sorry, you and I
yeah.
are on the same track there. Yeah, that's absolutely
Oh yeah.
that's absolutely correct. And I mean, come on, that if it was 2016, maybe that feels normal, but in 2024,
Right.
that's just not acceptable for your
Right,
$1,000 phone.
especially when you have like Samsung and Google that are both offering like 7 years of operating system updates.
Correct. And they're also
For
and
yeah.
they're offering you the option to do a beta, usually
Hmm.
before the end of the year once
Yeah.
the new Android version ships. So, but again, so yeah, that's where I would knock Motorola. That would be like if I was considering purchasing this phone, that would be the one thing that I'd hedge on.
Right.
If it's but with 4 years, I mean, honestly, like you said, if they hold up what their promises, then that's the average lifespan of most, I think,
Yeah.
phones
That's
for a
not
lot of
bad.
people. So it's not bad.
But also, it should be mentioned that Samsung does have one other advantage, and that's in repairability,
True.
because there are a lot more places that can fix a Flip 6 than can fix a Motorola Razr Plus. So I've never
Yeah.
actually tested that theory,
I don't want to
but
have to test it.
right,
No,
exactly.
no, I know
So
in the past
um,
Motorola was unfortunately really difficult to work with in terms of phone
right,
replacements. I
right.
shipped
So
off a
keep
phone
that in mind as well. Keep that in mind
so
as well.
yeah, just something to think about. But yeah,
Hmm.
so I mean, those are things that if you're a pragmatic person, think about when you're when you're buying your phone if you're in a carrier store. But I'm gonna sometimes I make emotional buys, and to me, that the Motorola is the emotional buy.
Yeah,
So
that sounds like a great place to end this review. So thank you, Cliff, for taking us through the Motorola Razr Plus 2024. There will be a link down in the description if you want to go ahead and pick one up yourself. But for now, that's going to do it for this particular video, and we're going to go ahead and play our fancy new outro. So thanks for watching.
wow.
Oh, hi there. Thanks for watching. If you made it this far, then you obviously liked what you saw. So why not take it a few small steps further? How about you drop a thumbs up on this video and maybe hit that subscribe button?
And while you're there, move that pointer over a few pixels and click the bell. All of that will ensure that we get noticed on the YouTubes, and we can make more of these videos just for you.
And if you want to go even a little bit further, you can head over to patreon.com/benefitofthedoud and sign up for as little as just $2 per month. And for that, you'll get early access to our videos and some bonus content that we don't show on the main channel.
Plus, we're cooking up new perks and benefits all the time. So go to patreon.com/benefit of the Doud and sign up today.
That's patreon.com/benefit of the Doud. And as always, we thank you for watching and for giving us the benefit of the Doud.